Hello and welcome to the first session of Delta Green Divergence. This is a quarterly campaign of Delta Green. We are using primarily the framework presented in Fall of Delta Green, that Gumshoe product, with a minor adaptation to the way that investigative abilities are handled. We're using a system that is similar to how the Yellow King handles investigative pushes. We're taking that in to simplify that a little bit. But for the general abilities, we are handling it like more classic Gumshoe. There are a few minor changes. We're going to start with kind of basic combat and those kinds of things, but we may add in some of the elaborations that are available in Fall of Delta Green, like called shots and things like that, that add a little bit to the depth of it. But generally, you're going to hear us playing with that. But we are playing a modern setting. We are essentially end of 2018, beginning of 2019 for our characters here. And that means I've also made some changes to the investigative and general ability lists. I will put a link in the show notes for a blank version of the Character Keeper. So if anyone wants to see what we're working from, you can do that. We are using a Google Sheets for that. So my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. And this is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar, which is an online gaming club. I'm just going to say it like club. I'm not going to make any apologies. It's a club. And you can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. We have a bunch of sessions on the calendar. Actually, January and February are well packed. With some exciting stuff. We still have some open slots, but we've got some very cool stuff on there. So I am going to walk through our CATS document. Then we're going to talk a little bit about safety tools. And then I'm going to check in with the players, and we're going to go look at the character creation and introductions. So basically, we are running a game where you are a team of Delta Green operatives. In the US, a couple of years ago, we're pre-pandemic, but we are in the Trump administration here in the US, and whatever that means. You are, oops, oh, I said the T word, and we lost Paul. You are clandestine members of Delta Green. You have an original agency that you are associated with in the classic sense. You are called up as needed for strange threats. Delta Green is decentralized, self-structured, and ambiguous. I know in the modern pagan Delta Green, there's some interesting stuff about splits and agencies and things like that. I'm not going to tell you whether that's in play or not. Because you don't know if that's in play or not. It is a real question here. You don't know exactly like the full scope or scale of Delta Green. So we have that kind of a little bit of ambiguity and paranoia against a tide of a weird right-wing rise within the United States. I would go on because I think Paul knows some of this stuff, but I will hold off when we get to safety if Paul isn't back by then. This is primarily mission driven, but with interludes. There will be connections between the mysteries, but not necessarily ones that immediately launch you to, okay, we found this out, now we've got to go and deal with this. You'll report back and they'll direct you to other things. At some point, you may feel like, okay, we need to do some things on our own. We need to follow up on some things just because. Interludes will be home and work scenes as you try to balance those elements. Generally, this is going to take place probably Midwest, like at least the start, but we'll see where that moves us. In any case, as Delta Green needs to get dispatched to different places. There will be some playing out of the tensions of trying to maintain your home and professional life in the face of having to do these operations. One of the other conventions of the approach is that each of you knows at least one other member of the team. You've worked with them maybe on an operation, maybe not, but you're familiar with one another that to kind of establish that level of trust. Get Paul in here. Back in. Okay. So again, as I said, we established that all of you have, each of you has met at least one other person in the team. In terms of tone, so this is a dark game of supernatural horror of all kinds. The mythos is dangerous both physically and psychically. There will be some horrible, vile shit that you're going to see. Consider that a content warning. It is a little darker than, say, the Nice Black Agents Express, the mythos as presented there. It is a little more darker and grounded than Nice Black Agents. Add to that that there is a certain amount of paranoia and gaslighting that can come from both the adversaries that you face and the agency that you work for. That is going to provide some additional tension here. Now, to mitigate that, to manage that, we use a layered set of safety tools. I know all of you have played with me before, you're familiar with it, but I'll go through for people who might be watching this. We use 3 tools besides this CATS that we kind of walk through the tone and so on. Number 1, lines and veils. Lines are the hard lines of things we definitely don't want to see on screen. These are elements we don't want to have in play. Veils are things that can happen, but we're not going to dwell on them. We're going to elide them. We mention them, but we don't dwell on the details of them or anything like that. We don't go into it. They're not big on-screen moments. And then ask first, we have if there are issues that people would like that we definitely get a check-in before those come up. I've left the lines, veils, and ask first thing blank this time. As all of you who've played me before knows, I usually provide a template. I wanted to have people pull out things, but this is a living document and can be added to as we go along. At least as it stands right now, we have hard lines on 3 things and veils on 2 others, but feel free to add on to this as we go along. Our hard lines are on dental horror, torture by the PCs, and sexual assault. Those are things that's not in the game. That's not what we're dealing with. And a veil on sex, which I thought was a given because I know some of you are British. So we've got a veil on that. And then a veil if there's harm to children, we're like referencing that at a distance, and as you'll see, that may come up in this first mission, but we're eliding, we're not dwelling on those things. So those are the ones that we have right now. The next tool that we're using, of course, is the X card. The X card, meaning that you mark either with a saying X card or gesture to mark out material that you find objectionable, problematic, wildly off tone. That can be a point. Also, if you've discovered something that we haven't put on the lines and veils list that you're like, okay, I actually need to have this marked on there. Or if we start to lean towards something that we've got on the lines and veils list that maybe we haven't caught, like in the heat of play, we haven't caught onto it, that's another time to use the X card. If something happens a couple of times and then later on you're like, okay, now I'm not cool with this, it is always legit to X card it later. You've never passed an opportunity by. Lastly, open door. We have an open door policy, meaning that if you need to step away for whatever reason, real world issues, reaction to game content, whatever, you're more than welcome to step away. It'd be great if you could tell us if you're going to be back or not, but you don't have to. That's not an obligation. That also folds into this. If you get to playing and at some point you're like, this is not the game I want to be playing, that is a legit response, and you should feel free to bow out if you're not cool with it. Never feel like you're obliged to stay around in a game if you're not enjoying it, if it is not what you wanted. So those are our tools that we have in play. Are there any questions about setup, tone, or safety tools before we kind of look at the character creation from anybody? Okay, so I provided you with the template for the characters beforehand, and it looks like for most people that you've gone ahead and done that. Got the stats, the notes in there. So I want to go ahead then, in that case, and like move to introductions. Please introduce yourself, your pronouns, your character, their pronouns, and sort of the general conception. And then we're going to talk about things like motivations. We're going to set bonds after all the introductions are done, in case you want to connect up with other players. So don't go through those quite yet. But everything else, especially like where your focus is investigatively or generally and so on. Last thing I'll say about this, there are a lot of numbers in this game and a lot of skill picks and things. And what you may discover by session 2 or 3 is that somebody else is in your niche, or you've made some choices that you're not like happy with, not optimal for that. You will have the opportunity at session 2 and 3 to make those shifts, to readjust your character if you're finding that it is not what you were picturing it. So with all of that said, there we go. I get that down to about 15 minutes now. I'm very happy with myself. Will, let's start with you. We're going to work character keeper direction. As some of you know, play with me, that will shift each time. We'll have kind of a set order they'll call on, but I'm never going to like put somebody in the hot seat. Or first chair is what I'm calling it now. From in each time. But for now, Will, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Will, pronouns he, him. Unlike those of my character, Gene Oliver, FBI special agent with the Criminal Investigations Department, recruited into the FBI on a fast track program after the program, or who knows, caught wind of her and has been on several operas so far. Was originally quite dubious about the extra legal government conspiracy that she found herself part of. Stopping a massacre of a bunch of people on an interstate outside of, I think it was Chicago or somewhere, where a huge crystalline monster was going to just devoured everybody, and only stopping it by driving multiple cars into it, you know, has maybe convinced her that perhaps there's something to this conspiracy after all.
Tell us about your focus. Like what have you taken that you feel are your real strengths for your character in the investigative abilities and the general abilities?
So Jean is a interpersonal character. She's quite good with firearms and you know, like the general physicality aspect of being an FBI agent, but her major, you know, area of investigative ability is in dealing with people. She's not intimidating, she doesn't do negotiation, and she's not a spy, but she'll butter you up and she can read you, and she can talk the talk with other cops and their agency.
And on the general side of things?
Well, then she's pretty athletic. She's got high firearms. She can handle herself in a fight. She's good at sensing trouble. She's sort of on the edge and ready to take care of herself. Those are her major focuses. She's got a little bit of everything else, a little tiny bit, probably higher on the drive than I think most of the other characters at this point, to represent, you know, being trained to chase people down in an FBI car.
Yeah, the sort of active defensive driving, which once you learn it, as I understand it, it stays with you in all the facets of your life. I talked to someone who had been trained in that in working in Iraq, and they couldn't look at driving with any kind of calm after that. So tell me, how old is Jean?
Jean is at this point, I think late 20s, just given how long it takes to become an FBI agent, do some field work and everything. I think that the youngest an FBI agent could be in theory is like 24, 25, after all of the training and everything. So yeah, I think she's only a few years into her career at this point.
And like on her standard caseload, like what kind of investigations are she usually set to?
So it used to be homicides, cross-state homicides, but since becoming part of this, she's getting more and more specialization into, how should we put it, extremist groups, fringe extremism.
And so one of the things would be is you would be aware of and on the front lines as there is a massive shift in the FBI of over the last 2 years that you've been in the FBI, where they have cut funding massively for the following of extremist groups that are not Muslim or some other religiously motivated. Domestic terrorism, those things have all been cut down. And you've seen a lot of things that you would have put on, like fast track or red light would go up the chain and just get ignored.
I've learned to put Antifa in all of my reports if I want anything done.
Tell me about this op. You had mentioned before we started that this is a existing character from another game. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Jean was recruited after a bunch of rich artistic types had an unnatural drug that they were going to use in part of some ritual that would have done horrible things to the people of Atlanta. She was a bit skeptical after that because she never really saw anything other than some strange footage and stuff like that. And then in the next operation, they followed a much smaller cult, investigating two missing bodies, two missing people that had been, flagged by a program's algorithms after seeing a unnatural hypergeometric symbol in their literature. And it seemed as though it was just going to be a fairly easy case until they descended into a collapsed house where there was a statue that came to life. People fed themselves to it. Hordes of controlled animals that would have ripped a limb from limb. And then, she lost one fellow agent and only managed to barely avoid multiple civilian casualties with judicious use of vehicles.
So you have seen some shit, like you've seen strong, to your mind, physical evidence of the mythos of hypergeometric entities, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, seen a good old-fashioned monster,
Okay.
That could affect the minds of people, and then proceeded to, tear through a bus as though it was nothing. And luckily, the 3 extra cars managed to stop it.
What are you describing your motivation? Like, what have you set it at, and what do you imagine that means?
So her motivation is to set things right. And that is to balance whatever book that she, whatever her imaginary scales are in her head. It's to, find out the truth, make sure whoever did it pays, like just sort of balance things out, however she can.
Okay. Interesting. So I think that gives us a good sense. We'll come back to you and talk about connections, and we'll talk about what your bonds are once we get through all the introductions. Next up on the list is Paul. Paul, tell us about your character.
Hello, I'm Paul, he, him, and the character I'll be playing until he is no more will be Jim Williams, also he, him. Jim is a Chicago-born DEA organized crime and drugs division guy, and he spends most of his time undercover on the streets of Chicago. His family originates from the southern states, and his grandparents moved to Chicago years ago. And Jim, his skill set is pretty much around sort of urban, on the streets, undercover type work. Probably a bit of a generalist when compared to some of the other characters. He did serve in the US military prior to joining the DEA. Now in his mid-30s. Jim is very new to this this Delta Green thing, and I think he sort of saw the after effects of what Gene Oliver was talking about, that thing that happened outside Chicago. He was following a drugs lead that led to a drugs house, and the evidence led a bit further. He never did get to see this monster, but he's clearly seen the effects of what has gone on, and that has led him to seek further knowledge to discover the truth is really what is now motivating Jim. Yeah, that's where Jim is now.
How hard was it for him to, like, did he from the Army move straight into law enforcement, or was there some gap between that?
Yeah, I think you know, when he was in Iraq and the early stages of Afghan, I think he got involved with the DEA. They got a permanent unit in both those locations, so he was sort of seconded to them to do some work with them, and you know, he thought his time in the military had done, so it seemed a natural progression in to move straight from military life to drug enforcement, going back to more his roots in Chicago, where he's definitely I think he joined the military to escape life in gangs. That was definitely a route he was going down, and I think it was offered to him, you know, either prison or join up. So he believes that he's paid his cost to society, and you know, now he's going on further to sort of improve society. But I think what thinks he's seen outside Chicago has clearly shook him a bit, and now he really is looking to wipe that dust away and see what's underneath.
Do you think you've been on many more Delta Green assignments since then?
No.
Okay.
I think he is quite a novice to this.
And the drug that has been going around, that has it's gone through many iterations. So what is its street name now? The one that you know has some weird shit mixed up with it.
Jafar.
Yeah,
and he's sort of been tracking that really back from sort of a Afghan in Iraq. You know, he in its early days, that's where he first sort of heard this term Jafar, and now it's definitely on the streets of Chicago, doing the rounds, and it's a lot more potent.
Excellent. All right, I think that gives us enough. We will come back to you with the bonds and connections. Next, Alan.
My name is Alan. I use he, him, and my character is Dr. Marcus Evans, also he, him. Marcus is probably in his late 40s, you know, a fit, quite slight, wiry man, prematurely grey hair, and he works for the CDC in infectious diseases. And his particular niche that he's developed is he leads a team at the CDC that is often called in when there are outbreaks of you know, significant disease like Ebola in West Africa, for instance. So he's traveled a lot around the world, and that kind of informs some of his interests, because he's encountered what he would describe as the occult or fringe, I suppose, overseas, and that's fostered an interest in how that how those networks and beliefs are spreading around the US. He is a qualified physician, but I suppose, and you know, when I look at his investigative kind of spread, his interpersonal skills are very much at the softer end of those soft skills. So it's about negotiation and reassurance for Marcus. He's, you know, his bedside manner is quite solid. His technical skills are largely around science, pharmaceutics, medicine, crudely put. But because he spent a lot of time overseas in sometimes very difficult circumstances, he's also quite a competent outdoorsman. And in terms of his general abilities, again, that time in working in some very kind of distant backwater places around the world means that he is perhaps more physically competent than some of his colleagues who simply sit at home and you know, monitor flu epidemics. That's getting more difficult because, of course, the federal government is cutting back on that kind of monitoring because they think the risk of a pandemic is tiny.
Absolutely.
And even if it did, it will just be more flu. So yeah, that's kind of Marcus.
So now, one of the things you had said in the, I think I talked about, are you picturing him as somebody who hasn't been on many DG operations or has only been like recruited, like you've had the meeting and the talking to, and you're good, someone's told you you're going to be called up at some point, kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't think he knows. He may have been involved in Delta Green operations, but not in a way that he recognized. So some of these overseas missions, ostensibly run by the World Health Organization, may well have involved some other aspects. But as far as he's concerned, all you know, he didn't see anything. He has, you know, he's developed an interest in, came out of West African folk medicine as much as anything else, his interest in the occult. But so no, I don't think he's encountered the mythos in any concrete way at all. And I'm not sure he realizes that he's been recruited into this subversive agency.
Okay.
He thinks maybe, you know, he's had a conversation with a variety of people from outside the CDC saying, you know, sometimes we need the kind of expertise we don't have on hand. But he probably thinks that's the FBI or you know, the DEA or somebody else. I don't think somebody said, and here's a small green badge for you to wear inside your lapel.
But at the very least, you know that there is something slightly clandestine. You have somebody who has met with you who, for all intents and purposes, clearly a handler, clearly a meeting person. You know that there's something a little bit unusual about it. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, but you see, I think Marcus is kind of naive about some of this stuff.
Okay.
I don't think he is naturally suspicious. And so he thinks,
that will
yeah,
serve
you know,
you well.
if some other federal agency needs, you know, some discreet help, then who am I not to provide it?
Excellent.
You know, after all, I'm in the business of protecting people. Bracket from disease, principally, bracket.
And that very much is your motivation, that sense of protecting people. Is there anything in your background that is it just like brought up that way, or is there something in your backstory that has kind of pushed you?
I think probably I think he probably doesn't come from money. I think that he probably got into college and medical school on a variety of scholarships, and so he feels an obligation to give back.
Nice. All right. That brings us, last but not least, to Horst. Horst, please tell us about your character.
As I'm Horst, he, him. My character is Susan Rajavi. She is, I guess, second or maybe third generation immigrant from, so her parents are from Iran. She works for the FBI, Directorate of Intelligence, which is a division that monitors the internet, collects information. She has a journalism background. She worked for the the Baltimore Sun. And, because of the situation newspapers are in, she got let go after she helped the newspaper build up the internet infrastructure. They said, we actually don't really need journalists anymore. And I'm not an expert in FBI. I assume that she has the basic FBI training. But she has found her niche in, finding patterns in data, so computer science, the internet. Because of her journalism background, it's also like other skills she has is, questioning people, pretending to be someone she's not. But yeah, it's mainly computer stuff where she's good at, and analyzing data, also financial data, accounting and stuff.
Nice. And how many years has she been with the FBI, do you think?
I assume there must be something like a year-long training, 2 years. I think, like, let's say 5 years.
Okay. And what has been your experience with the unnatural that like has gotten you recruited in?
So I think she found unusual. So first, like, unusual financial things that's normal for maybe organized crime. But she got on the trail of a foundation, New Life Foundation, and she thinks that they are dealing with some kind of genetic material that changes people. And when she dug deeper, there were weird connections to Assyrian deities that she thought is just bullshit, but because she has also language skills, she was put on the case, dug deeper, and was recruited by Delta Green because she had seen too much. I'm not sure if she actually seen, I don't think that has been confronted by some kind of mythos creature, but she's definitely aware of like hypergeometric effects and paranormal things.
Certainly the smuggling of antiquities out of Iran, Iraq, that the financial track back to various companies and corporations in the US, and then to some of the other weird things that you have followed up on. Okay, that makes sense. And what is your motivation?
I haven't decided. I think it makes more sense, considering that she's like maybe mid-30s, that she's third generation immigrant. So her grandparents immigrated after the Iranian revolution. And I think I chose duty. Maybe I want to change this to patriotism. So she's very thankful to the USA that the United States gave her family a place to flourish. Her parents are well educated, and she's glad to enjoy the freedoms that the country provides.
I think this is a really good one, especially in a time where people are arguing over the definition of patriotism. That's a good and interesting and dynamic motivation for you.
Yeah, I chose duty, but I think it's the aspect of you have given the freedom, but now you have to protect it. That's a duty.
I noticed that you put a good investment into your network as well. So how is it that she has like all of these contacts? Is that something that she consciously cultivates?
I mean, she's definitely I also have bonds with former colleagues from the Baltimore Sun. She has obviously informants from her time as a journalist. I think she probably has some kind of contacts in the, black hat hacker world. And I don't think that she's so cynical to only see, for example, her former colleagues or, informants as assets that she uses.
No, I like that. Network represents, like, you've actually built a significant bond with them. So it does speak to who she is, that she has those contacts, a breadth of them and a depth of experience. So that gives us our characters. What I want to do now is come back to the start, come back to Jean, talk about bonds, and then I'm gonna ask you, like, who do you think you've worked with? And so in the end, I think everybody's going to have worked with two different people, but we'll see how this all works out. Let's start with you, Jean. What are your bonds?
So can we put a fellow agent as a bond?
Yes, you can.
Okay, then I think I'd like to put a fellow agent as a bond. I think I'd like to put maybe Jim Williams, DA agent, who was sort of roped into all of this cover-up of the Operation Wormwood Arena incident, and I've worked with them. And I'm going to put them as my level 2 bond, I think.
Sure.
So we've worked together and I can trust. And then my former Delta Green agent is my level 3, which is Gregory Jefferson, FBI supervisor, Horst's former character in the previous game, who is, I think, more senior and less of a field agent these days, and is one of the reasons why Jean can do so many Delta Green things is because her direct superior is a Delta Green asset as well.
Nice. Nice. I like that. And for your level 1?
Is my college friends, Marcy, Trish, Pete, like it's sort of a group we used to hang out, but FBI work distances. And then, in the first year of my time as an FBI agent, things began to get much weirder and they worry about me.
Okay. And so then we've established your literal connection, that the person that at least one of the people is Jim on there. Okay. Jim, who are your bonds? And then besides Jean, which of the other two have you interacted with?
Bonds. I've gone for my level 3 one is Jean. I think she's the one that was at that scene in Chicago that sort of dealt with me, maybe got me involved, or at least sort of smoothed out and explained some of what was happening, and maybe brought me into the Delta Green fold. I'm going to go for my number 2 bond is the Black Disciples, which is a Chicago street gang. And I think they're sort of actively opposed to Jafar. It's one of the drugs that they won't sell. And I think that's caused them quite a loss of ground in the Chicago gang scene. And I think that's where he started, as a corner boy back in the day with the Black Disciples. And I think for my level 1, I'm going to go for Dr. Marcus Evans. Due to the fact that I've probably worked with Dr. Evans in Afghan, in Iraq. I've seen some of his work out there, and I probably did some more sort of field work with drugs that may have fed back to him in a more of a sort of a lab situation.
Excellent. So one of the things to consider here, especially with the bonds with fellow agents, is it is nice because when you're interacting with them, if you need to help them out, you can spend the bond points to assist on that. But it also means that strong disagreements in the field can potentially affect those bonds. And it also means that if you have to do some damage to a bond for whatever reason of stability, that if you choose that bond, that we're going to have to play out the scene of that kind of crack that occurs. Awesome. I think that gives us a good sense. Let's come to Dr. Marcus Evans then.
I've deliberately chosen not to have a bond with anybody else in the team because I think that fits with not being part of the team, to be honest, at least ostensibly from his point of view. Just, you know, there's a bunch of people. And if I read right, rather than 3-2-1, you can go for 2-2-2.
Yeah, either way.
I've gone for 2-2-2 in terms of distribution, which perhaps says something about Marcus, in as much as his partner, who's a surgeon at an Atlanta hospital, it has the same level of bond as he has with his team at the CDC and with his younger brother. They all are important to him. Which perhaps tells us something about his relationship with his partner, with Joanne, because he's spent a lot of time away. So they are close, but perhaps not as bound together as a married couple or a long-time partner might be expected to be.
And we've established that you have worked or crossed paths with Jim. Jim appreciates the work that you've done, feels strongly about that. Who else of the other two have you worked with?
I probably don't remember Jim, to be honest. I think I was probably there as some kind of biological chemical weapons check. And so, lots of people in uniform came and went. And while Jim remembers me, I think when I first meet Jim in play, it will be that, have we met? But I think perhaps I am more likely to have encountered Susan. I think that I may recognize her from her journalistic work.
Okay.
She may well have covered some of the various epidemics that I've been involved with. Maybe she interviewed me. I don't know. That seems like the most logical of these four for me to have met previously.
I think that sounds great. And on that note, let's come to Susan.
Given that Susan is with the FBI, as is Jean, maybe there's a connection that they were in a team together where she had to provide the intelligence. Like
that
literally.
Yeah. I think that's perfect. And so what about your bonds?
Oh, my bonds are my parents. I need to check. I know that my colleagues from the and my ex-partner Robert.
Okay.
Well. And the it's 3-2-1. So my parents first, 3 points, and then the colleagues. And I still have a good a good relationship with my ex-partner, but there was probably some kind of fallout. So it's not the warmest of bonds. It's more complicated.
So yeah, it's the one that's most on the balance edge with the one. Okay. That gives us a strong sense of the characters. We're going to take our first break here. Let's run ourselves up to a little before the hour. When we come back, we'll talk about how you get contacted, how you get briefed, and we'll give you the briefing document and we will get rolling. Sound okay? Okay. So each of you are contacted through your handler. For the moment, we're not going to establish handler identities because it's not something you talk about with your fellow agents. So you may share a handler with somebody else, but you may not know it. This is the person who calls you up and gives you, the call to head out. And you are contacted and provided essentially with a briefing document. And then I'm going to talk about what exactly that means here. So I'm going to share a document with you. There's a long title line. Copy link. Okay.
Can I rename it briefing document 1?
Yes, please do. Here is the link to the document. It is also in the DG folder. So I'm gonna kind of skim through it verbally, just so we have a redundancy on this. Basically, a couple of days ago, people who are on the DG staff or the people up the line picked up something odd on a forensics pathology board. The kind of place where people who are involved in those things go to talk about things off the record to get that. And the text of it is fairly much as follows. Organic test dummies, ? And I'll kind of go through. I have the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I honestly don't know what it is. I have no idea how to fill out my report. I've been told just to fill out a standard report, but I mean, I just don't know. Early this morning, we had an accident victim brought in, hit by a car on a back road. Horrible thing. Caucasian male, maybe 9 to 11 years old. Killed instantly, as far as I can tell, and what the ambulance driver told me. No idea, and struck apparently at like 3 in the morning. I didn't get other details. So I get to checking things, and it gets weird. Probably weirder. There's damage, bruises, scrapes, and the like, but some other traits are missing. Blood vessels in the eyes. It's blood trauma, and that's pretty clear, and even I can tell that. But when I do the prints, they're fucked up. Like all of them are the same across all the fingers. Like maybe somebody did something to remove the prints, but then why replace it with identical tips? Then I start checking out the wounds, like the scrapes and stuff, and there's no blood. I mean, there's redness, and it looks like a scrape, but there's no fluids. And there's no rigor setting in, and the body's super cool. Then I do a cut, and like as far as I can tell, it's undifferentiated flesh all the way down. No arteries, no veins, no vessels, no internal organs, no bones, as far as I can tell. So this has to be what? Some kind of vat-grown thing? Like something made to mimic the human body for testing, but no bones? Did someone steal this and throw it out in front of a car? It gets weirder when I check the clothes. No tags, no real seams in it. It looks like it should have them, but it's faux. I don't know what to put in a report, and I think my dad's just going to fake it. He's freaked out enough about it. I think it might be some kind of horrible gunfire dummy. The Delta Green report says that they traced it back to a name of Deborah Catanzarite in Marcotte, Michigan, a small rural town in the center of a lot of old pine lots and farmland. She is the daughter of the local elected coroner, the person who also owns the funeral parlor. Delta Green will tell you, once it came up the pipeline, we worked to, for some of you, they'll say discredit. For some of you, they'll say, we worked to close it off for the time being. Essentially, get the mods on it. And you are essentially being sent to Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's probably an hour outside of Detroit, where all 4 of you are going to meet up, and then head on to Marcotte. You have 3 objectives. Go to Marcotte, ascertain what this is. 2, if it is outside, and again, what they say to you is going to differ from person to person. They probably say a very different term to Marcus Evans than they'd probably do say outside or unnatural. If it is outside, clean up the evidence. And also, if it is outside, deal with whoever is involved in its creation. Does that feel like a substantive and robust? All right, and we'll leave that briefing document in there in the folder. So tell me, Gene, where are you when you get this call?
I think that I am actually on my leave, one of my leave days.
Mhm.
I am hanging out with Marcy and Pete. You know, Marcy married Pete. They were college sweethearts. It's all very lovely. I missed, you know, like the anniversary due and the big reunion and everything, and I'm trying to make up for lost time here. And we're having bottomless brunch, where Jean has had 2 drinks and then reminds them all that she's got a service weapon with her, as she is required to do at all times, and therefore will not be enjoying the rest of the drinks.
And you get the call that has that encrypted text. There's probably some kind of DG app made to delete things quickly, basic intelligence op. But
I'm
like, what does that
reading
look
report.
like?
I think I excuse myself, you know, pull out a packet of cigarettes, and I don't even smoke. And I go outside and I light one up, and I grimace as I start reading this report on my, you know, my big phone in the VMware virtual sandboxed app that I use to deal with all of my Delta Green stuff. Somebody else set that up for me. Susan set that up for me, probably. I don't know how to do those things, but yeah. Yeah, goes out and then just like lights a cigarette and then just like sucks in as hard as possible to get as much of like the smoke and nicotine, then like grimaces, spits, throws it onto the thing, grabs another glass of strong spirits off the table, and knocks it back before returning and making her excuses to Marcy and Pete.
Is this a common thing, an uncommon thing, unusual? Like, what's their reaction?
I think it's very like faux, like regretful, and you know, like you can see that they're just like, oh yeah, you've blown us off again.
Okay.
You know, Marcy's like, oh no, oh well, last time, oh well, we'll have to do this again sometime, I'm sure. And Pete's just like already ringing up one of his friends to come down and join them instead.
Nice. Jim, where are you? What are you doing when you get this call?
What time of year are we talking?
It is January 3rd. And it is probably when you get the call, like mid-morning, early morning, depending on things.
Okay, so pretty cold. So I'm on the streets of Chicago in probably not a particularly Inglewood district. To be honest, I'm not a Chicagoan.
Right.
Is that the term?
Really?
I don't know. But, yeah, it's not a particularly great district where I'm in, and I'm stood around a brazier with some of the black disciples talking street shit, basically. And I'm sort of probing them, see if they've heard anything about Jafar, its movements around Chicago. And I think they tell me that there's not a lot of it about at the moment, but there's word on the street that maybe something big's going to happen. So yeah, I'm huddled over this brazier, you know, with my leather jacket on, warming my hands.
And you get that call, you know, check it out, and you can see the SIGINT sign shows you, you know, this is clandestine and this is operational.
I'll quickly look at it, and I'll turn around to the corner boys and a few of the other hoods and say, man, this is some heavy shit. Excuse me, gents, but I'm keeping an eye on you guys. So yeah, just keep it sound. You know, keep an eye on my family, man. And yeah, I'll excuse myself. Get quickly on public transport.
And you know, head probably from public transport to one of the outlying airports midway to catch a flight there. Or, you know, as soon as you text on that, they're getting arrangements made for you on that. The only problem, of course, with that is that once you get on the ground, you have to settle with whatever materials or stuff that they've set up for you. Dr. Evans, where are you when you get this call to examine some unusual forensics and pathology?
Yes, I think probably I'm in a staff meeting with Ado and Pat, who are my team at the CDC. And I think that this arrives as an email. My assumption is that Delta Green has the capacity to send me an email that looks like it's a real request.
Yeah.
But with some terminology that means that I know that this is, oh, that guy who talked to me about doing some extra work, for the government quietly. And so, yeah, I may make my excuses to them. There's nothing. The staff meetings discuss, viral threats. There's nothing on the horizon as far as we can see at this point. So I'm gonna take this opportunity to do a bit of field work. I may take the camping equipment. It's in Michigan, so I might take the weekend.
So take the time off, go and get your own home. What does that look like? Is it a van? Is it actual like camper?
I think it would be great if it's a camper.
Okay.
And I drive. I mean, I have no idea how long it will take to drive from Atlanta to Michigan.
We'll say we massage the things a little, but you can arrive there by late afternoon.
I was convinced you'd tell me it would be dark, but that's okay.
It will be pretty close to dark because of course it's savings time and so on. But we're gonna hand wave that a little bit here. So Susan, where are you when you get this call?
I'm in a government building, FBI government building in Chicago as well, poring over data. And I think she has a PGP phone, which is, in itself encrypted. She reads the message, and she's in a cubicle office with other people working. It's probably half full. And as soon as she gets the ping on the PGP phone, she knows it's Delta Green because nobody else knows about the phone existing. And she reads it, goes to her, what's it called? Like the officer on command, agent command, and asks for like a leave for a couple of days because family matters.
And I think the agent in charge, just because there is that grumbling, that pulling up your hours, checking on things, and as with the other PCs, that you get that passes by, but you can tell that gets noted in your record. Those are days off, sudden and unusual. Let me ask you this. You are perhaps the PC with the most reliance on gear, materials, and so on. What is it you're packing up? What do we see going on with that?
She does have a go bag. As I said, I don't think that she had like tons of missions, but a couple of. So she always has the go bag under her bed, and it's definitely a laptop. Some her service weapon, I would assume. A camera. I don't know.
Okay, but that gives us a good sense of what your typical kit is. Preparedness can go for unusual things, but I just kind of want to have a sense of what that looks like.
Electronics mostly.
Do you carry your service weapon?
No, I'm not sure how it is on airports. I mean, she's from the FBI, with the FBI, so she probably has some kind of.
There is paperwork to essentially, but it's the gun has to be stowed and secured. It has to be registered. But if you want to take it, you can.
Yeah, she wouldn't wear it anyways. It's not that she walks around with a gun, but she definitely takes the gun with her.
Okay.
And does the paperwork.
Yeah. So it's checked through you're noted, and you will head on. So we're going to cut to this essentially rent-a-office that in one of these innovation center buildings that Delta Green has quickly rented out as a space for the four of you to meet up, and it's likely to be Jim who arrives first, then maybe Jean and Susan, and it's probably a little bit of a wait, but eventually Marcus will come up. There are sort of the standard field kit items there, a set of burner phones, as well as a set of sidearms should you need them, and the kind of the more basic gear that is provided there, as well as keys to a vehicle, should you need a car as well. So like for the three of you during that sort of wait time before Marcus arrives, what does that convo look like? What are you doing when you finally like are off the trail, off the plane, off traveling, and are here with your fellow agents? Jean?
I think from Jim's point of view, it'll be a hearty welcome to anybody, you know, a hug and sort of a bit of catching up, finding out really what people have been doing, try and get the lowdown on that, and then really ask people, you know, what's their plans on a con, that sort of stuff, you know, what's their take on what we've heard so far.
I think, you know, Jean responds pretty warmly to Jim, knowing that there's going to be somebody else around who can handle themselves physically. Doesn't really trust Rajavi to have her back if anything goes to shit. Certainly Rajavi didn't have her back last time the things went to shit, sending her down into that hole to die. And yeah, it's just, you know, so... I mean, do we have a medical examiner on the team? I don't know how to cut up bodies. Rajavi, is that one of your specialities?
Nope, unless they have some circuits inside, it's not my business. She reacts pretty coldly to the hugs and the warmth of the others. Not coldly, but she doesn't hug. Like it's like maybe an awkward side hug or something.
You just get a curt nod from Jean.
Yeah, exactly.
Jim gets a warm hug. Yeah.
Is there like a coffee machine somewhere?
Yeah, well, essentially you walk out. This is one of those like innovation centers for people to set up new businesses and things. And so there is essentially basically a Keurig and like a big stack of coffee pods out there.
Jean will also check all the locks on the doors and ascertain where the firing lines are and the ways out and things like that. Yeah. So we have a bunch of gear here as well, right? Like a duffel bag, I imagine, left behind with firearms and things inside.
There are bags that have been, you know, locked away in a cabinet for you to. Probably a combination cabinet, and you're given that. You can open that up and take those things out.
Mm-hmm. She'll be, you know, closing the blinds and checking some of those firearms and things as we wait for the fourth member of our party to arrive.
Susan will definitely power up her laptop and check the, you know, both the local news and also if anything about this has leaked into, you know, either the public or some dark corners of the internet.
Catanzarite? How do you say that? Catanzarite. So Catanzarite said that her father was going to be writing this up.
That's bad news.
Well, we know roughly when this was posted. The coroner's reports should be stored publicly somewhere.
I mean, we should probably, and she says that with a sardonic smile, indicating that it's a joke. We should probably just send a kill team, right, Gene?
Yeah, you lead it.
2 left hands.
Yeah, and I guess it wouldn't be public records, but I think there'd be like a notice of death, right? Like, you know, that like there are kind of like, I don't know, over here at least, if people die, there are sort of like public notices that they've died. You don't get the full kind of they died of or whatever, right?
So what you will find, I don't think this is a spend or anything on this to get this basic information, is there is a brief police blotter accident report for the evening of 3 days ago, the 3rd / morning of the 4th, and it will list that there was a car accident on a back road. They give you the location. Generally, it doesn't say like the mile marker or anything like that. And a driver, one Vic Stratton, was involved in a collision with an unknown person. He sustained minor injuries in the crash, and that the victim, unidentified, has been taken to the local coroner's pending further investigation. And that is about it. You're pretty certain that the coroner has not yet filed anything officially. This is a kind of small backwoods place. It's the kind of place where when they write it up, they're going to fax it somewhere. And
America, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's going to go into some kind of bureaucratic cache or so on. The town is far enough out from any major towns where there'd actually be a real newspaper. So there's nobody really following up on the police beat or the blotters or anything like that. It's just a small, essentially the town has the equivalent of an aggregate news webpage that has some local notices, but mostly pulls from a big national feed and hits you with all kinds of horrible adverts for things.
Okay. So we've got from that Vic Stratton, location of the car accident, and our original lead of the coroner, I would say, is like our three potential routes here. And Gene is putting that up on like a whiteboard, you know.
And I think that's the point in time at which you'll hear the sound of a vehicle, pretty substantial, pulling into the parking lot, and you will see a camper van pull in. What color is it?
I think it's probably dark blue.
Okay.
Apparently Airstream have a new one, so I'm very keen on that.
Absolutely. It's a single vehicle rather than a trailer. Airstream.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's a camper van in the sense of I drive it and I live in it if necessary.
For many years around in my neck of the woods, the local university had devoted all their fields in the summer to various camper gatherings, like the Silver Airstream, like hot dog trailers.
Yeah, yeah.
There would be just acres and acres of them.
So difficult to look at in a sunny day.
Exactly. No, it was super unpleasant if you drove by. So Marcus, you'll unload, come, follow the directions, come on in, and you will see your 3 teammates.
And I'm slightly surprised because I was expecting these don't look like a bunch of doctors. I'm sorry if I come to the right place. I was told that there was a kind of follow-up autopsy required.
Yes, that's right, Dr. Evans. Pleasure to
Hang
meet
on,
you.
I know you. I say to Susan, we've met.
Yes, I interviewed you some time ago. You have
That's right.
Yeah,
It was
brilliant mind.
Liberia, maybe Ebola outbreak.
Yeah, terrible thing. But you dealt with the situation admirably.
Well, it's all about teamwork, you know. It's all about teamwork.
Well, and that is, what we are all about. There's no I in team, right?
Indeed not. Indeed not. So
if you look hard, there is a me.
Susan actually laughs.
That's a real memory for faces you have there, Dr. Evans. And she looks over at, Jim, who has told us about knowing this doctor is en route to.
And I think that Evans is socially able. So he notices this and he looks at Jim and says, "Have we met?"
Iraq. A few years back, I was in the forces.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yes. Well, a number of people came to and fro, when we were doing various bits of looking for weapons of mass destruction. Didn't go well. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I don't quite remember, but it's very nice to meet you again.
That's okay, Doc. But you ain't in Kansas now. This is field work.
I'm familiar with field work. Most of my work is in the field. So I'm sorry, I don't think we've met.
No, I'm Agent Oliver.
Oh, I see. So is this under the auspices of FBI?
It's a interagency program.
I
Counterterrorism.
shoot a look at Jean and at Jim.
Jean has made sure that bag of weapons is secure in the locker and out of the thing. I think we had a brief conversation before about Dr. Evans has not been fully briefed, shall we say.
A friendly of sorts?
I've been told to keep him abreast of all of the developments, and let's just call this his evaluation.
So are you all with the FBI?
FBI here.
Yes, I think I remember reading your farewell article when you left. And you, Jim?
DEA, but this is an intergovernmental operation.
I see. Okay. Show me the body.
Dr. Evans, before we start, it is very imperative that we don't want to cause panic in the population. So I think you read the briefing document.
Yes, a kind of some report of some hick doctor failing to do a proper autopsy, and they want someone to have a look at it.
Well, we checked the autopsy in the unlikely case that it is actually a weird body. We don't want to alert the public, so I think our focus should be to talk to the coroner.
What, before I look at the body?
Well, you look at the body and, we will make sure that the autopsy might include some unusual results, doesn't leak to the newspaper.
I'm sorry, Susan. Are you misunderstanding that I work for the government?
Well, I work for the government
and certainly
as well.
Nothing will leak to the government. Leak to the public. That's entirely contrary. Apart from anything else, I'm bound by confidentiality. So,
Very well.
but I am here to look at a body, I understand.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Certainly, yeah.
So do you want me to talk to the coroner first, or I don't quite understand? I mean, I presume we have to introduce ourselves, but
I think that we can arrange for you to have an autopsy. You know, a second look at this body. We can confirm what's going on there, and
well, clearly from the notes I've seen, it's clearly it's someone was high when they did this. I mean, that's just.
I'm sure that's all it is, Dr. Evans. I'm sure. Now, how should we approach this? We can probably make it over to the coroner's office tonight.
And right now, let us say it's about 7 p.m. We established that as a baseline time. You are about 75, 90 minutes outside of Marcotte, Michigan. It's still a drive here to there. So you'd certainly be hitting that. You're uncertain. It is like a coroner's office / funeral home. So they probably do have at least some way to call someone in, after hours, and that can be expected.
Do we have the address of, like, the home address? That should be like a Google search, maybe.
Oh yeah, you can get the Catanzarites home address. It is essentially maybe half a block away from the home itself, from the parlor.
So, meta-wise, I think this is a conversation that we could lie to Dr. Evans about to fool him into not knowing this is what our plan was, but we could illicitly gain access to a backwoods coroner's office and steal a body and do it, or we can and remove the evidence entirely, but we don't know that it's there. But I feel that that's a decision that the three of us would have had to have made before Dr. Evans arrived. I'm just throwing it out there because I think that we could do it that way, and it would leave potentially no trace whatsoever with the public. But then we would be abandoning our lead with the actual coroner himself, I think.
Yeah, I think we drive to the place if nobody is there, we can, get inside, get the body. If somebody's in there, we talk to them. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
I'd much prefer that we keep on the legal side of things, and maybe the doctor removes the body after looking at it under CDC quarantine.
Yeah.
Then if we're doing it legally, we're taking that off the table. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page in terms of like how Watergate we go before,
Yeah. So let's call the coroner first to get them to the.
As we're
yes,
driving
we drive.
over there.
Yeah. Who's driving? I think Gene.
I mean, there's room in the van.
I think it would be cool to have two vehicles, one actual vehicle, and then this mobile home of yours.
My email didn't say anything about accommodation on site. Do we know if we're staying here or there, or?
There's a motel down the road.
Okay, fine.
You can stay in your home.
Yeah, that's fine by me. I anything to save a bit of budget.
Yeah, you drive. You take your van.
Indeed.
Gene is a bit flabbergasted at the CDC doctor arriving in a mobile home.
Because I thought I might make a long weekend of this. Oh shit! I must ring my wife.
I do like that this is the moment at which you realize that you have not contacted your wife to inform her.
So are we driving? Is anyone riding with Dr. Evans? I'll drive our other vehicle. Anyone going to sit there awkwardly while he talks to his wife on the on the car phone?
I mean,
I was prepared to ride with him, but if he wants to have a private conversation, then no. That's clearly let's leave him to it.
I think it's quite good that we don't know how that conversation goes.
Just see you hitting the hang up button as we arrive, right? Like the love you, bye.
Seven-
Yeah.
So tell me, I understood that on the way over, on the drive over, someone is calling that funeral home,
Mhm.
right? So who is it that's doing that call?
I can do the call.
Okay. So Susan, you'll dial up the funeral home. It'll ring several times, but then you'll get an answer that someone that seems maybe a little bit exasperated. Sorry, I'm sorry. Hello.
Hello, this is Agent Rajani with the FBI. Is somebody available in, let's say, half an hour? We are on our way.
Available for what? Do you have a body to drop off?
We need to affirm an autopsy. There has been a mistake, obviously.
Okay. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just ran over here.
Who am I speaking?
Uh, I'm Deborah Catanzarite.
Oh, Ms. Catanzarite. Lovely to meet you.
And she's doing that thing where she's kind of like clearly doing something else while she's talking to you.
Mhm.
And it's just what is the FBI? Is this about the kid?
Yes, it is about the kids. There has to be some kind of mistake that we're trying to reassess. We have a renowned doctor with us, Dr. Evans, who will do the autopsy again.
So, like, what do you think your mode is for kind of like getting her cooperation? Like what's the interpersonal spend you're doing to?
Let me have a look. I'm matter of factly probably on leaning a bit on the authority, but let me just grab the character sheet for a second. It's probably questioning.
Okay. So you are kind of playing a little, if you're doing questioning, you're kind of playing a little more hardball with her then.
Yeah.
Okay. So make that spend from your interpersonal pool.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, I understand. No, what I said was, I mean, we haven't submitted a report, but what I'd be glad to have somebody independent. I need to call my dad.
Sure.
Over. And I'll get him. He really ought to deal with this.
Mm-hmm. That would be lovely. Thank you.
And she says, do you have a Google Maps for how to get here?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And she will hang up. And Google Maps leads you to, you guess this must be a town of maybe 1,200 people at most. And I'm talking about like outlying and businesses and things like that, spread out. That includes the trailer park that's at the far south end of town. That's kind of a crossroads place. The downtown is a few storefronts, some houses that have been turned into businesses with like placards out front. There's like an old train car set up as a little cafe kind of thing. And it is icy as fuck. Like you've been driving through kind of cold and snow, but at a certain point when you get close, you start hitting that like have to be real careful, black ice, driving thing, end up having to slow yourselves down. It takes you a little bit longer than you stated to get there safe. But
I'm guessing Marcus is following the others in the car, and I think he's wondering how Jean's city car is doing in these conditions. Because it's wibbly wobbling a bit.
We put the snow tires on, of course, before we got here.
Probably not, because snow tires are, in some areas here are restricted, so you don't tear up the pavement. But
Who's going to stop the FBI?
That's true.
I tell you, you're meaning studded tires, aren't you, Lowell?
I mean, snow tires, not snow tires. I think. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably have. I mean, if you come in out of Chicago,
I know nothing about driving in any of these
Okay.
conditions whatsoever, really. Just to be
Because
clear.
I think Marcus will flash the headlights to ask him to pull over and kind of lean out the window and saying, "I've got spare chains."
now I think even with the good solid tread snow tires, it's still a little wobbly here, and you probably will see as you're coming in at least one car that's gone off the road. That there's a tow truck there, and they're having that pull it out of the ditch. A lot of the roads are road, like a little bit of a berm, a ditch, and then onto fields, ice and snow covered. You can see in some cases, some of the fields where clearly there was a corn crop that rotted, that didn't do well this year. That's kind of been cut. Not any high grass, but some places, soybeans that have bent and things like that. And it's pretty clear that there are, various lots that have been given over to pine woods and things for, Christmas tree harvesting and camping sites and things like that. But the actual funeral home looks like it must have been custom built as a kind of like a homey looking place. Looking at it, you can see the venting that tells you that there is a working coroner's office attached to it, but it has the front parlor and the viewing area and things like that. And when you pull up, there is a older gentleman standing there in the cold, clearly waiting for you, who looks maybe like a little uncertain, a little annoyed when you come here. So who is the face on that?
Whether he gets there first or not, Marcus will certainly assume that it's him. So he'll get out of the car, he'll zip up the parka, march briskly across to who he takes to be. Mr. Kranzerite, Marcus Evans, CDC.
CDC? Wait, CDC?
Yes.
My daughter said it was the FBI.
Oh, I beg your pardon. My colleagues are from the FBI.
Why is the CDC here?
Oh, just a precaution, I understand. They just want me to check out a body that you've had to come in.
Jean Oliver would like to interrupt this as she, gets out of the, bustles out of the car, was unable to get out quite as quickly as Marcus Evans and his, proper.
The sidewalks are icy. People have thrown down salt, but it's still quite nasty here.
Yeah, and I would like to, reassurance, use some of that on the thing, and basically, he's a specialist consulting with us. This is just a case. One of your bodies may be involved in a wider investigation. We're looking into a John Doe, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm terribly sorry if I misled you. It's not that I think there's a disease. It's simply
yes,
that I was
Dr. Evans. Yes, of course. We're wondering about whether to kick his instep. Just the word. Stop mentioning disease.
My daughter's inside. And he kind of pauses, but doesn't go on. But he will go over and unlock the front. Said, why don't you all come down? And I'll walk you through on to the offices here.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
I say they brought the body in a couple of days ago. The sheriff had no ID on it whatsoever. We've taken photos, and I know the sheriff has been kind of asking around about it. And he will take you to the back. There's a freight elevator, a set of stairs, to go down one floor to a kind of a basement set of labs. You can feel the refrigeration down here. It's pretty basic. To your eyes, Marcus, very basic. But essentially, there's a prep room, a supply room, that kind of thing. And you will see Deb is there. And she looks over and it may be surprised that there are 4 of you. And a kind of a diverse crew. And her dad will say, why don't you go and make some coffee, Deb? To which she will bristle. But she is very clearly dismissed, and she will step out.
Out of character question, but I thought Deborah is the coroner. Wasn't that on the document?
She did the autopsy.
Right.
And she is, what you have the sense is that he is the coroner for the county, or the maybe multiple county area, and that his daughter works for him, probably works in the funeral business with him. But you have the sense that Catanzarite himself is a little shaky, like his hands are a little shaky, and that he must probably rely on his daughter to do a good deal of this.
When Deborah is leaving, can I want to say, excuse me, Mrs. Kesserite, can I help you with the coffee?
There is a moment where she kind of looks at the others and is trying to assess whether this is genuine, or if like her, you're getting sent off. But there's another woman who's staying. So you see her kind of take that. She goes, yeah, why don't you, it's just upstairs.
Thank you.
And I think Marcus will go to Jim and say, Jim, it would be very helpful if perhaps you and Ms. Oliver went and had a chat with Mr. Catanzarite. Just go through the report. I'd much prefer not to have coffee in this room. And I'd much prefer to do this without him sitting over my shoulder.
I can give you full privacy, Mr. Evans, Dr. Evans.
That would be very helpful.
Okay. And yeah, I'm going to be engaging Dr. Catanzarite in just small talk and stuff, and just as much as possible trying to put him at ease, and like basically get him to show us into that room, and then like get him to take us somewhere, like into an office or something, so that we can talk.
He will point at the table. He will point, goes over, and he says, we have a couple of bodies in right now for funeral preparations. And then he kind of points at one of the trays, and that's where the young man is.
And then Marcus, I think, will open a quite large medical bag stroke suitcase, and put his PPE on.
And he approaches as soon as that goes on, and like that you're the CDC and something, it is no matter for Jim, Jean, for you two to usher Mr. Catanzarite out of the room. Let's cut to Susan. Susan, Deb, she's 20 something, and she's, and she's not dressed professionally at all right now. Clearly jeans, and t-shirt kind of thing, but she'll take you upstairs to the funeral home where there's a whole nice array for food, for coffee makers and things like that. And she'll get that set. And she says, well, what do you do?
Well, I work for the FBI in intelligence analysis, which means I work a lot with computers and sifting through data. What do you do? Are you the coroner here? I thought your father was.
My father's the elected coroner. That means he gets to oversee and do final sign off, and he does some of the work, but I help him out. I have my degree. And,
oh, you have a degree?
Yeah. Yeah.
The autopsy mentioned some unusual features of the boy.
Long
Do you
pause.
think?
You read my post?
Yeah. As I said, that's kind of my job. I was sifting through some online chatter, and I read the post, and I thought, well, this is strange. There must be a mistake, right? I mean,
is that what brought you all? Because they took that down so fast. The moderators, the people asking questions, and then started heckling me. And
well, there are two possible, things. Either you made a mistake, which everybody can make a mistake, especially somebody so young, or the known laws of physics don't work. And I would assume we go with the first option.
I think it's some kind of dummy of some kind. I don't know what it's made of, but I think it's some kind of dummy, and somebody threw it in front of a car.
Yeah, probably. It's not.
My dad thinks it's like there are I know firearms companies make rubber dummies to test the effect of bullets and so on. Maybe this is just a new substance.
Yeah, that might be it. It looks really realistic, though, don't you think?
Oh, so you've seen it? Have you seen one like this?
Well, based on your descriptions.
Oh, so this isn't the first one of these things we've seen.
No. This is the first thing I heard of, but based on your description, I mean, you took it for an actual body. People took it from the street, so I assume it is not obvious dummy.
And you have human int. You've got that. So there is that pause where you see her. I think you can tell that she's been like going over this, like in her mind, she saw it, she's convinced it's a real person. But now we're a day removed. Her dad's been talking to her. She's getting that uncertainty. And she's like, I don't know. I mean, I have never seen anything so realistic. I mean, it had arm hair.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen CGI stuff? It's crazy nowadays. But anyways, I have had interviews like I might not be that old, but I'm working for the FBI for 5 years, and you interview witnesses, and what people come up with in their mind is crazy. So it's not unusual to just imagine things that in reality are not that strange. In your case, it might really be a prototype test dummy, maybe, that is made look really realistically.
So let me ask you this, your intent here. It seems like your intent is to get her to pretty much disbelieve her original thing. That feels like an interpersonal spend to like really undermine her sense of what she saw.
Yes.
Yeah. I think human inter-questioning is probably the actual ability that you're using to do it. But yeah, make another spend from that. And I think by the end of this conversation, by the time the coffee is done, she's questioning everything.
Nice.
Let's take 5, and I want to come back to Jean, and then I want to come back to Marcus. And as Jim staying in with the autopsy, okay. Then we'll come back. I like that. Good. So let's take 5, and then we'll come back. So, Jean, what's your approach? You'll take Catanzarite out in the other room. Oh, by the way, I've put pictures of Catanzarite and Deb in the NPCs tab.
I would like to, I'm in his office, right? We're going through and maybe asking him to, like we'll sit and we can talk about things. And I'm gonna look around me and try and, see any mementos of his wife or like what I can read out of him. And I'm gonna try and just like really put him at ease and just be like, I'm sorry to bother you with this at this late hour, Dr. Catanzarite, but you understand we've got a limited budget and limited time that we have to work things through, and we're just trying to chase up every lead here. This John Doe that you have, it could be connected to a wider case we're working.
And you can tell when you kind of get the sense this is a case of like a divorce rather than a wife passing kind of thing.
Then I think that Jean may turn on a little bit of the charm. Use that high charisma that she had in Delta Green, the original system. I don't know how you represent it here in this.
No, I think that's fair. Flattery is probably as close as it comes. But make a reassurance, or I mean, basically interpersonal spend. I think you've got the coverage there to do that.
Yeah, I think I'll do a flattery spend, like I said, and it will be, that I'm sorry to interrupt him on something that's probably just gonna be so boring, like it's just completely, and then I'm just easily get distracted and talk about like how nice like his office is and this coroner's home, and like, oh, do you work long hours? Like, wow, like the town coroner, people elect you.
Yeah, it depends. It varies county from county to county, whether it's an elected post or so on. There's old historical, thing with that. Like the sheriffs, some of them are appointed, and some of them are elected different areas.
The sheriff. I remember you saying that he's asking around about the victim.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether Sheriff Turlow will. I don't think that this is high on his priorities.
I understand entirely. We'll pay Sheriff Turlow a courtesy call just to, as we do around here. But I heard someone was injured in the accident. The driver?
Yeah. So Vic Stratton.
Is he a local?
Yeah. He hit this kid and went off the road. And luckily there was another driver that was coming up the same way. But Vic called 911 and got an ambulance out there. But by the time the ambulance got there, the young man was dead.
Vic's okay, right?
Yeah, they took him to Memorial and to check out on him, bruising, mostly, I guess, from the airbags.
Good. As long as no one else was hurt.
No, he was really shook up about it. I know that. He certainly hadn't been drinking, but he was, on the back roads at night. You've got him open. You get to driving fast. It's not good because if a deer bolts out, you know, it, you know, that can be bad. But yeah, no, he's
Gene's going to let the coroner just ramble on about the back roads and the crashes and maybe like old cases he's done, and she's just going to occupy Catanza Wright's attention entirely.
Now, he talks about it. You know, he's got a funeral that they're doing tomorrow, and he has to finish. He says he has to finish up preparing that body, and that kind of thing. And he talks a little bit about that. Anything else you want to?
No, I think I think I'm basically, I'm going to try and use this to give Catanza Wright the impression that the mere fact that we're here, even though it's probably going to be nothing, we're so bored by this experience, like entirely, but we have to follow it up. It's taken out of his hands, that like he doesn't have to worry about this anymore. It's our problem, and wouldn't it, can't he go back to his like nice life and not have to pay attention to this weird stuff that his daughter's been talking about and make it all go away? But not in a sort of like sinister cover-up, more
absolutely.
Just mundane bureaucracy,
He will say before we cut back to Dr. Evans, so this isn't like domestic terrorism or anything, is it?
Terrorism here in markup? And she puts out her hand, like on his knee, like, oh, Dr. Catanza, right?
Let's cut back to Evans and it's going to take me a bit to get names right. Williams. So, Jim, do you also get full PPE?
I won't let him near the body until he is.
What's your reaction to that? Is that like, does that feel standard for you? Like you have no worries about that?
Well, I'd like to understand what the doctor means by full PPE.
Oh, same as me. So we're talking about level 3, the kind of rebreathers, filters, goggles, a hooded coverall.
Okay, like an evidence suit.
Yeah, exactly. Only with a bit more here.
Yeah, so it's not one of those blow up.
No, we're not doing a
yellow.
No. I didn't bring that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get one using this preparedness that I've invested in, but I do not think we need that yet.
No, I'm happy with standard stuff that you'd wear at an autopsy anyway. But I will remind the doctor that clearly, based on the report, we don't know this may not be a standard body.
And I think Evans is he's doing the standard job. He's being professional, he's being crisp, and yeah, he's nodding and smiling at that. You can't see it because of the mask, but he's nodding and smiling. And then he pulls the sheet back.
And
it is not what he's expecting.
No. What you will see is, I don't want to dwell on the graphic of this, the shape of someone of roughly child height, but very shrunken, like emaciated. But the thing that will strike you kind of at a quick look, you can see where there are some cuts, autopsy cuts that have been made in that are open, like when you cut into a solid rubber ball. It's like whatever this is all the way down. But the thing is, those also seemed like they kind of shrunk in, like the body was clearly not this way before. That would have been mentioned, how emaciated it is. They also probably would have mentioned the absence of hair, eyelashes, teeth, eyes, fingernails, toenails. It's completely hairless, completely missing those pieces.
Having set up the recorder, I will be speaking all of this, recording this, and I think that I probably need to make a forensic spend to ascertain whether this is organic or inorganic.
you will also, I would like both of you to lose 1 stability. It is clear when you pull this back that this thing is not right and not natural.
This is like nothing I've seen before, Jim.
Right.
I'm slightly lost for words. My working assumption is this is not inorganic. So then I think I need to take some samples of this material. I probably have brought a microscope to just look for any cellular structure.
And I think we should, once we've left here, seal the body in a body bag, and then maybe try and look at some of the original specimen information from the original autopsy, see if there is an accelerated rate of decay, possibly, because it doesn't seem to be fitting. The original report was, it didn't mention a juvenile or child.
I am curious whether we've got the post that Deb made.
Mm-hmm.
And do we have a copy of the report that Kanzara is set to submit?
Well, his report is very much nothing unusual mentioned. The report is written in the most vague terms. Deb's notes are there and photos.
And the photos make it clear that there's been a change in the body over the last 8 or 10 hours. Or
yeah, a couple of days, and it had hair, it had fingernails, it had teeth, it had eyes, but those are gone. But you will, with that forensic spend, this material is organic, but it's not quite like anything you've ever seen. You're really unsure about it.
I'm wondering whether a spend of fringe might allow me to place this if in some context.
I think a spend of fringe will tell you that this is not human cellular. It's not animal cellular. It's not even plant cellular. It is some kind of matter that you are not familiar with.
Is that with or without the spend?
I think without the spend. I think without the spend, you can, do that. Jim?
I've got no knowledge of occult, but on just general knowledge, I mean, I will say to the doctor, I mean, this isn't no sort of like Polynesian sort of shrinking sort of, doesn't go down that occult route, does it?
I don't know, but this is not a human. It's a body, Jim, but not as we know it. This is not a human body. It is not typically a mammalian body. The material is organic, but it does not meet any classification I'm aware of at this point. And to be honest, it is the most fascinating thing I think I've ever seen.
Jim, what do you do when you hear kind of a bang from one of the other cabinets?
I will push the doctor aside and say, "Stand back, Doc," and I will try and grab. I take those big sort of like meat locker handles.
Yeah,
they've
really got like big 6 of these bays, and you hear kind of a bang or something, like something fell or something in one of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect any movement in a morgue really, apart from me and the doctor. So this is quite disconcerting, especially with that body there on the thing. So yeah, I'll sort of intercede myself between the doctor and this door, and then I'll sort of grab the door with one hand and yank it open.
Kind of open it up. There's, you can see there's a body in there with the a sheet over it, but no further movement.
I'll turn around the dock and say, "Did you hear that?"
I'd like, I think, to sense trouble, because my thinking at the moment is I may need to get this body in a body bag, ready to get it out the building.
Let's have you make that roll.
Now, I can't remember which form of roll you're using.
So this is we're doing standard Gumshoe, which means that with this Delta Green, I don't usually tell you the difficulty. You declare your spend and make your roll and add a d6 to it.
Okay. So
Or rather,
I
yeah.
will. Yeah. Okay. So let me then.
I put the dice roller on the lines of I just added
You
that
did.
a little bit ago.
You did. I will spend 2 for sense trouble because Marcus has been in some tight spots. And hang on, can I? Yeah, I can just do 1d6. Can't I?
Yeah.
There we go. 6 + 2 is 8.
So I'll tell you 2 things. One is you've got a very bad feeling about this.
Yes, that fits.
The other thing is you're like, you kind of remember Susan's call, description, and Deborah seems a little out of sorts. Like, why was Deborah here this late in the evening? It was all closed up. She answered the phone here. Why was she here? What's that? Like, there's something weird that hasn't been explained yet that you're like, that's got you right now.
Okay, Jim, I'm going to bag up this body. I think we need to get it out of here now.
Yeah, but what about that noise? Should we have a quick look at that body?
I think this is about prioritization. At the moment, I have in front of me something I've never seen before. It should
You shove
not
it in the
stay
body
here.
and I'll help you drag it out of here, Doc.
Well, yeah, okay. So yeah, I go back to the case, take out a body bag, and I will body bag the body.
While he's doing that, I will have a quick look under this sheet.
Jim, can I please have you make a stability test here? Normally,
let's see this new mechanic.
Okay, so normally with the 1 and 2 points potential stability losses, it's just I just deal it. Otherwise, what it is there's a stability loss. Right now, the potential loss is 3, so there's difficulty 3. So you can just roll against that. If you make it, great. If you don't make it, then however much you missed by is added to that 3 that you lose. But you can also spend from your stability to kind of increase your chances. It is a losing game.
Okay, yeah, let's spend 2.
Okay.
And roll a d6.
So you just make it. Since you need to roll on or above. So you keep yourself together. You lose the 2 stability that you spent. But you'll see the upper half of a woman. Clearly, some basic preparations have been done, touch-ups for the funeral, that kind of thing. That it's clearly in that state before they go to dress. But about halfway down, the woman's body changes. And the lower half are a pair of young legs now. And the 3 points is when on this top half corpse and this bottom half legs, when they kick.
I will throw it back.
Louder than you wanted it to.
And I will turn to the doctor and say, there looks like to be some cross-contamination already, Doc.
I'm going to cut back to Susan on that line. That's a perfect line to cut on. So Susan, you've had this conversation, you're talking with Deb, you've got her assured. What's your next step?
Um, I mean, do I have I can spend human if you want. Do I have the impression that she's holding something back? I got what I wanted. I wanted her to think it is all, it is all a dream.
I think maybe a questioning spend
Mm-hmm.
to draw a little further on what her impressions are, what her nervousness is, something that like her general unease. That seems
Yeah.
fair.
Okay, I will spend the questioning.
And she will say, this whole thing has me rattled. This thing came in, this fake thing, and and then I posted on those boards and I got immediately attacked. And then I got, a 2-week ban. And then like when you called, I actually had come over here because the alarm had gone off.
Oh,
Yeah.
somebody broke in?
I don't think anybody actually got in, but and I didn't have a chance to like check with ADT about where it was, but clearly the sensors went off on the windows or doors upstairs.
Can you show me the point of?
That's the thing. I don't know where they came in. I just got the general alarm, and I don't know. I didn't look around the outside to see if there were any tracks or anything, but is that my dad said this might be like a training dummy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got some guys around here that are militia.
Oh, Jesus.
And he said he thought that this is maybe like they practice shooting on something like this because they're really weird.
Do you have any? I mean, that sounds totally plausible. Get any names from these militia guys?
Yeah, they call themselves the Sons of David.
Sons of David. She chuckles.
Their leader is actually named King David. That's his legal name. Like he changed it to that.
Land of the free. You can choose your name, whatever you want.
Yeah. He's got his license plate, KNGDVD.
What does it mean?
Yeah, it's King David, but like without the vowels.
Oh, wow, cool. It's so 21st century.
Yeah.
So the alarm couldn't have gone off in the actual, what's it called, the parlor?
Oh, you mean downstairs in the lab?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, these are on the windows and doors upstairs.
Okay, interesting. Well, if I were you, I wouldn't worry too much. I will definitely check on these Sons of David. But your explanation about these test dummies sounds so convincing to me.
And she seems a little reassured, like you've kind of got her a little bit calmed. She's thinking this is nothing. She seems reassured.
Is it when we hear the sound from downstairs?
Well, whatever sound comes after that, if it's shouting, like the banging or whatever, I assume you do hear the heavy bang, like echoes up as somebody has clearly slammed one of those tables back into the wall with some force.
Susan makes like a waiting gesture. You stay here.
Oh, okay.
Just checking on my colleagues.
Gene, what are you up to? Are you continuing this conversation, or shall we like cut to you hearing the bang?
I think if you hear the bang,
and Catanzara is like, kind of starts to stand up like, okay, I don't know what's going on. This is my place.
And I'm going to try and keep him there, I think, to be perfectly honest with you, because whatever situation's going on until a gunshot goes off, I'm assuming that it can be handled.
All right. So I don't think it's very hard. It's a small office. You're an FBI agent. You can stand up, kind of get in the door, and make it clear that he shouldn't go past you. Does that seem fair?
I'm just trying to distract. Like, I want Catanzarite to think that nothing is going wrong whatsoever. So I just want to keep him occupied, basically, because what the other aspect to our investigation is don't leave lots of people asking questions after we leave.
That is definitely an interpersonal spend to
Yes.
to like cut like
reassure
down.
Again, basically. I'll just say, oh, the doctor must have knocked over one of the trolleys. Don't worry, Jim will make sure the Agent Williams will take care of everything. He's got shaky hands sometimes, Dr. Evans.
Dr. Evans, you see Jim's reaction. You see him slam that back into there. What do you do?
Jim, what do you mean by cross-contamination?
Whatever's affecting that body has leaked into other bodies as well, and it's affecting them. I think this needs to be quarantined off.
Okay. Okay, you will find some tape in my case. I want you to begin to tape up all the window, anywhere the air could be getting in or out of this room. Leave the door. We'll put some polythene there and try to create an airlock of some description.
Yeah, it's moving now. What's in there? It's affected one of the bodies. It's halfway up the body, and it's causing.
What do you mean moving?
Involuntary muscle spasms.
Okay.
I think is the technical term.
That it's one of those pull-out freezers, isn't it?
Oh yeah. That's what it pulled out.
Okay, that reassures Marcus. He knows they're not openable from inside. But yeah, his infectious disease concerns kick in here, and he needs to seal this room. And you need to get Jean to set up some kind of exclusion area, and the Catanzarites need to be in one place.
Yeah, let's not that exclusion area. Let's keep it nice and hyper local.
Okay. We don't want people coming in or out of this building.
Yeah.
But you need to telephone Jean now and get her to start doing that.
There is a thud that starts like.
As I said,
you
Doctor,
can picture very clearly, Jim, of little legs pushing the top of a head against the inside of that door.
As I said, Doctor, there is involuntary mobility now.
That's more than involuntary mobility.
My advice is that we just get out of here, seal it, and get out, and remove the civilians. You just give them some medical guff why they need to leave here.
But we could be contaminated ourselves.
That's why you got us in PPE. We're perfectly fine.
I'm not entirely convinced by that, but you do need to seal the windows now using that biological tape, right?
You're looking a bit short there, Doc. Are you all right? You got on me. Yeah, let's start sealing these windows. Come on, Doc. Let's move at some speed here.
And I will seal the body bag with the original body in it.
Okay, so we see kind of a quick montage of you sealing those windows to the doc's satisfaction. Marcus, you gave the body bag and like lifting up and putting this very light body now into the body bag, and still that kind of.
Let's get the fuck out of here, Doc.
Susan, you've heard that bang. You go downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of out of the corner of your eye, you see that Jean kind of has Contanzerite like settled.
Mhm.
But you kind of look in and you will see Marcus zipping up the body bag. You'll hear that thudding sound, and you see Jim with a speed that suggests the borderline
Urgency.
of some worry, sealing up those windows. What do you do, Susan?
Is there a crematory?
Yeah.
What's that sound? I asked the doctor.
I'm not certain.
Well, it comes from a place where dead bodies are supposed to be, right?
Yes, there is something going on with that body. I haven't seen it. Jim, while you're securing
It's
the
fucking
door,
reanimated. That's what the fuck's happened.
Well,
Involuntary muscle spasms, the doctor may say, but it's fucking reanimated, man. Let's get these civilians fucking out of here.
I call Jean. Jean, we got a problem. You need to get the civilians out of here.
Jean lets out a long, controlled sigh, and then says, control the scene.
We'll burn everything down. Thank you.
And I'll go, Dr. Catanzarite, I'm afraid the CDC's involvement here, I haven't been wholly honest with you, the CDC's involvement here is not simply as a consultant. We're dealing with a very special case, and I'm afraid that I'm going to need your full cooperation and that of your daughter, and we're going to step outside right now. Do you understand? And I'd like to use, I don't know, cop talk, I guess? Like
Cop talk is more talking to cops.
Okay. Reassurance,
Okay.
really, because I'm calling upon authority, and he is a town official, and I am a hierarchy of officials. I'm calling upon my role as an FBI agent to basically say that, like, I've got his family's safety in mind here.
And like when you mention his family, and then something might go on. He's like, oh yeah, Susan. The problem that you have right now is that to get up and out to the elevators or up the stairs, you have to go past those doors where they are doing this. So there is a moment, probably if you make the spend, where he sees perhaps a little bit of haste going on in there.
panic would be a strong word.
But you'll get him upstairs, and Susan, and he's like, we need to go back to the house. They're going to take care of things here.
Deborah, you mean?
Oh, sorry, Deborah. Sorry.
Yeah. Cool.
And Deb's a little like put off, but Susan has primed her to be kind of willing to go along because she's still really uncertain about the whole thing. And I think she should go, oh, okay. Dad, give him the keys. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he kind of goes in and he pulls his keys to the place off the key ring, and he'll hand those to you. And he goes, the alarm code is 447.
Thank you. If you could just wait outside, I just need to check on my colleagues.
Okay.
Should
I call the sheriff?
No, I'll be right back with you.
Oh,
Don't want
okay.
to worry the sheriff.
All right.
Be a false alarm. And I will smile and then, walk like calmly back into the building. And then as soon as I get back into the building, I am like shitting it and like running down, throwing the keys and just being like, don't burn the fucking building down. Quietly.
So let me cut down to the trio. Body bag is zipped up. Window ventilators covered, sealed. They have standard filters, basic for dealing. When you're dealing with these kinds of bodies and things like that, there are, regulations. So it is pretty easy to seal this room up. and you can get that set throughout. That sound continues. But Jim, Susan, Marcus, yeah, you've got this room locked down, and the body bag is, say, out in the hall by the end of that point.
Oh no, the body bag stays here.
Okay.
And I say to Jim, and I'm looking round for anything that could be used to secure somebody. Straps, elastic bands, anything that we could use to secure a body.
Let's have you
Let's
roll.
get some acid or a fucking wood chipper.
Let's preparedness is used for scrounging.
Yeah.
And I think this is appropriate. Certainly without preparedness roll, you can get something basic, but if you want something that is like can allow you a degree of control, then I think it's a roll.
Okay, then I'm prepared to spend 3 on this.
Okay.
So roll.
Alan, out of character, Susan is hell-bent on burning the bodies. So
yes, that's why she's not in this room. That's why she's on the corridor side of these doors. No one can come in or out of this room until we've secured patient 0. Right. So that is 2 plus 3 is 5.
Yeah, you can find that they do have like some transit, like a transit gurney, like a transit medical gurney that has a full strap down on it, really secure.
So Jim, when you open the door, I will pull out the tray, okay? And then you roll the body onto the gurney and I'll strap it down.
Sure, but prepare yourself. What you see may freak you out. I'm just warning you.
Look, there is nothing science can't understand given enough time, and we need to secure whatever is going on in there.
Okay,
let's go for it.
And I think that's probably when Jean arrives outside to see what they're doing.
Well, in the meantime, between that, Susan going up and taking you upstairs and so on, you're kind of, the doctor is clearly keeping you out in the hall because he's worried about contamination. What are you doing, Susan?
Banging at the door. Let me in, guys. What are you doing?
This is a contamination risk.
Yeah.
You are not protected, nor is the outside.
Well, we need to
stop the Catanzarites going far.
The Catanzarites are taken care of. We need to burn these bodies. Keep the
We need to understand these bodies.
Not all of them. Just understand the kid. Burn the rest.
I will. Jean gets down the stairs and grabs Susan and goes, "What the fuck is this shit?"
They don't let me in. They're
I shove the keys into Susan's hand and I furiously text the thing to like our WhatsApp chat group, the code for the thing. And I say look, whatever the fuck this is, it can't stay here. We leave as little sign of any of this as possible. But destroy them if you can.
Find out where the nearest crematorium is then.
We're in a funeral home.
There is out back. Across the backyard, there is a backyard crematorium.
I just throw the keys at Susan and I say, I give all that and I go look, I'm on babysitting fucking duty, so it's up to you to clean this shit up, okay, Rajavi?
Aye, sir. I'm babysitting these 2 clowns.
So
and I run outside.
Jim, get this open. As soon as you do that, there's a little push as the head tries to bounce against that, and you yank that out. Dr. Evans, can I please have you make a stability check against difficulty 3?
I will spend 2.
Okay.
That is 5.
So you're all good. You just lose the 2 that you spent, and you will see the upper half of this older woman and the lower half of this young person. and the legs are kind of up and strong enough that they are pushing on the body. And I want an athletics check from you, Jim.
Okay. I will spend 2.
Okay.
I haven't added anything to the custom dice roller. 4 in total.
4 in total. So you will shove it. There is a moment where you're like, maybe you thought you shoved it a little too hard, a little too fast. But this thing will flop onto the contain. Clearly the upper half is dead weight for this. And Marcus, let's have you make an athletics check to get this thing secured before it can push off from here.
I will spend 3, because needs must when the devil literally drives. That is a 6.
6, you go immediately strap this down. Those little legs are kicking.
So secured ankle, thigh, upper body.
Yeah, you will get it strapped down. There is still that kind of motion from the bottom half. The top half is kind of in place. So you've got that secured on a gurney. You've got the other body in a body bag, and you'll hear the sound of Susan opening the door.
Open the door!
Dr. Evans, we need to burn the body. This is not a suggestion.
This is remarkable.
Crematorium.
This is remarkable. You cannot destroy this.
Well, I can, and I will. Dr. Evans, you are obviously a very talented professional, but you're out of your league concerning these things. This is some otherworldly shit, and we need to destroy it before it contaminates more.
I think I probably look to Jim for some kind of common sense in all of this.
Jim, you're the fulcrum of this balance at this point. What is going to be your action reaction? That'll kind of determine where we go.
Doctor, you've got what you needed. You've got the patient 0, as you said. This one that we got on the gurney is going to the crematorium now. We can't deal with any more contamination. You know better than anybody. We cannot allow this to spread. Keep patient 0 here, or bring it with you. But we're taking this one here to the creme.
I take 1 sample.
Quickly take a blood sample, a tissue sample.
No. I want to take a sample as close as I can that covers the boundary between new life and dead flesh in one of the thighs, maybe.
While they are arguing, I open the other drawers. We need to burn everything.
Certainly the other drawers don't show any of there's only one other body in there, clearly prepared, embalmed. Doesn't seem to show any of the signs that you're seeing, but obviously you want to be dead cert on that. So I assume you're bagging that up.
Yes.
Lowell, was the kicking one embalmed at all?
No.
Or was it just actually a dead body?
It's just actually a dead body. They hadn't done the embalming on it yet.
That may be worth. I'll quickly say to the doctor. That may be worth. That's maybe why that's not reanimated, because it's been embalmed. But we need to get rid of this one.
Fern, you would do a scientist yet, Jim?
Dr. Evans, you want to trim out a sample from this writhing body.
Well, I mean, I've got him strapped down at thigh and ankle. I'm hoping at the point of where dead becomes live is somewhere in the thighs or maybe in the lower abdomen. So I'm hoping that this isn't writhing a lot. And if necessary, I'll have Jim hold it down.
I think you can get a basic amount of this. If you want a significant amount that you can work with, it'll be a medicine spend.
No. I think all I want is a slice.
Okay. It is horrible. It is a weird, it is that like dead flesh and then cut off to rubber sole kind of thing there. And you get that, and it It is horrific. Yeah, Gene, it's very easy to get the crematorium started because they don't actually shut it down completely because it takes so long to power up. So they've got like a little basic pilot light on it. So I assume you are getting that up to speed.
I'm going to get that up to speed, and if the Tenzorites make any kind of thing, I'm just going to be going like, just stay back. Thank you, citizens. And yeah, and then I'm going to try and just hustle them off into the trees and be like, just a safe distance. If again, probably nothing, but we're just going to have to follow protocol here. You understand?
I think behind them, I think we see Susan and Jim dragging these bodies. A little more motion from the one that Jim is dragging, and then we see them unceremoniously tossed into the combustion center there, and he will light it up. And I think that is where we're going to stop for today. And that is what we're going to take up next time. I'll talk about at the start of next time experience and refreshes at the start of session, so we can go over how that process works. You will get a little bit of refresh to raise some things up, but again, it will be kind of minimal. So that's the deal. Sound okay? I would like to do a quick stars and wishes. Stars being things that you particularly liked, particularly dug, and wishes being, in the case, especially here with session 0, things you definitely want to see or definitely want to see more of. We'll continue on with that same order from the sheet. So Gene, let's start with you.
Both stars and wishes?
Yeah.
Yeah, stars. I love investigations. I love starting an investigation. I love this weird, undifferentiated flash all the way through, and then, Herbert West style shenanigans, which I'm really looking forward to. I love all the imagery of like the half-grown legs sticking out of this like desiccated corpse and having to wrestle it down and take a sample out of it and all of that. That was great. I'm glad it escalated right into the weirdness immediately. And wishes, I guess to pull on those strings and try and keep neutralizing it, because I feel like we can't really acquire lots of animated corpses, because what are we going to do with them?
Right.
we've got a rented office somewhere. But yeah. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed session 0. Yeah.
That seems fair. Paul?
Yeah, I really like. We've got 4 quite different characters already. I feel in personality, not just in numbers on sheets. We've got some good personality going there, which I like. Looking forwards, maybe a sort of a thing scene. Flamethrower in the snow, that always goes down well. Yeah, just more of the same.
Okay.
Really good.
Flamethrower. I'll just write down flamethrower and we'll figure out what it means next time. Alan?
Yeah, stars all round, really. I thought you played that very neatly. I thought that there was clearly, you built the tension nicely, and then, something's trying to get out of the freezer. I enjoyed being the naive professional who thinks he's here to do one job without really understanding that there is more to this job than he thought, and it seems a little heavy-handed on the part of Jean and Susan. But yeah, this is inexplainable at this point. So no, I really enjoyed this evening. Thank you.
Anything wishes-wise particular?
I don't think I have at this point.
Sure.
I think that I will want to explore how we recover any stability.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's going to cost me, because I think that might be necessary. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how these kind of interlude scenes with contact to one's bonds, how you integrate that into how we go forward.
Right, and a good chunk of that will be like getting a chance to do those interludes and interact with your bonds is how you kind of passively restore a chunk of your stability. And then Susan,
Yeah, I like the four characters because they are so different to each other. I really like the fact that very often in investigative horror, it's very slow building and it only kicks off really at the end. But we had it in the first session, which I really like. And concerning wishes, probably to get to know the characters a bit more, maybe have some interpersonal scenes between the characters. But other than that, I really enjoyed the first session.
Good. And I think that's a perfectly smart thing that we'll try and get those so we can see and try to mix up the pairings so we can see how people interact.
I've just noticed, Will, you've typed in, I think, a very good point into the, you'd like to see Dr. Evans come up against the mission versus the science, because at this point, of course, the mission is science.
That will be good, especially as we get to some of the more fringy things and where that falls on the fringe occult scale. Awesome. Thank you all very much. I'm going to stop the recording. That button.